Hello, and welcome to the Nappy Frappe. My name is Cheryl Monique, your host. That voice you hear in the background is my almost 2-year-old son, Kenan Barack, who is pretty chatty today. So here we go. Yeah. Okay. So today's topic, coffee talk topic, is relationships. But before we get into it, I want you to click subscribe, hit the notifications. Make sure you like and share the video if you like and you want to share it. Also, follow me on all forms of social media at the Nappy Frappe. Okay, so let's get into it. Relationships, and in particular, abusive relationships, and how strong, confident, take no crap women who know they can get someone else end up in them. The thing is, you don't even know how you got there. It feels like you woke up in a whole new situation and you don't know how it happened. You know, I've seen the movies. I grew up with abusive relationships all around me. And you think you know what they look like. You think you know how to avoid them. And it's not supposed to be the cute, sweet, fun guy that you had all this fun with and you were dying to spend every second with and introduced to all your friends. And he didn't seem angry or anything like that. And then next thing you know, you're having these horrible fights. And everything is so tense. And you're walking on eggshells all the time. You know, there's always, well, for me, there was that subtle turn towards abuse. And you don't even recognize it at first. You know, it's not like he said, you better not be out there with any other guys. Not right away. In the beginning, it was, so, you know, are people flirting with you? I was just starting to become a makeup artist. So I was starting to wear makeup a little bit more. And it was just like, so anybody on the train try to talk to you? Or any guys trying to talk to you? And it's like, oh, you know, no more than normal. And next thing you know, we're fighting about something else later. And I could tell he had an attitude about that. But it's just like, I didn't do anything. What are you mad at me for? Or I'm getting ready to go out with friends. And, you know, I mentioned, oh, we're going to a club or this or that. And, you know, let him know. And he doesn't say anything about you going. But then you come back and it's a fight for the next 6 months. You know, it just keeps coming up. And it's just like, it gets to the point where you don't want to do anything with any of your friends because you don't want to get into a fight. You don't want to hear about it. It's just not worth it. You weigh going out for this friend's birthday with having to fight with your man about it forever, and you just don't go. And that's how I started to become more isolated. I brought him to hang out with my guy friends because I have a really close core group of male friends who I love. They're like my brothers. And I can understand how it can be a little bit off-putting or intimidating to start dating me and to realize I have so many close male friends. But I always invite the guy I'm dating out to really get to know them and get close to them. And because they're like my brothers, I want them to see the guy that I'm with and, you know, let me know what they think and all that. But he's like off in the corner and being antisocial. And he's not the person that I dated. Like I wouldn't have dated someone antisocial. And so then it's just like, I don't know if I care for your friends, yada, yada, yada. So that's how you start to get isolated. And then, you know, it's starting to pick you apart. At first it was, if I put on 50 pounds, I'd be perfect. Now, granted, I've always been thin. But 50 pounds, 50, like, and at the time, there were all these thick girls in the magazines and in the videos. And he was like, oh, my God, you'd be perfect if you did this. And, you know, there's nothing I can do. I wasn't trying to put on weight. But I put on my 15 pounds of happy relationship weight that I tend to, you know, fluctuate. And 15 pounds later, and he is just like, oh, you got to work out. And then making comments to where I don't feel attractive anymore. And so I'm walking around in huge T-shirts and shorts and no more lingerie or sexy little tanks and, you know, boy short panties or anything because I'm afraid that I look fat. I've never been fat. And Yet it seeped into my head that there was something wrong with my body, that I don't want him to look at my body naked because I don't want to feel judged. So there was that. And then, there was the bringing up your past, where, I used to open up really, oh, this is, this, I did this, I did that, or whatever. Not ashamed. I'm a sexual being. You didn't meet a virgin. I didn't expect, to have to lie about anything. Now I know better just to keep it all to myself. I'm not giving anyone an inventory of my history. But at the time, I did. And then, you get into an argument and they're bringing up, well, what about this guy? Or did you do that with this guy? And, once we got into an argument about something stupid, like it started off with him asking if, anybody had flirted with me when I was out coming home from work. And then by the end of the argument, he's calling me like one of my ex's whores. And it's just like, whore? And I'm like, well, better his whore than your girlfriend. And so I was never like really afraid to speak up. But I never wanted to fight either. I'm not a yelling kind of person. I grew up with a lot of that in the household. And so I have no desire to have that. So I always tried my best to be calm, to never let the argument escalate. But the disrespect, I'm not here for disrespect either. I do not tolerate disrespect. Yet I did. And in my head, I do not tolerate disrespect. So I'm talking back, but things keep getting weird and things keep getting worse. And next thing you know, I'm afraid to say anything. I'm afraid to break up anything. Because abuse isn't just physical. The abuse usually starts off really emotional. And warping the way you feel about you in the relationship, and that if you did something right, if you didn't mess up, if you didn't create this energy, then everything would be good. And so you're just trying to follow the rules so everything is good. And when things are good, they're good. So and that's what your friends know about. And, now I'm not really talking to my friends. So I don't want to call up people that I'm not hanging out with as much and then tell them that I'm in this relationship with this angry person. Because what are they going to say? They're going to tell me to leave. And do I want to leave? And I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed that their super confident friend that's a man eater and, I'll date who I want to date is now with this angry person that's made me feel horrible about myself. And I just wanted to be a good woman. And the rules for what a good woman was kept changing. And again, you just don't know how you got here, And every argument, they start off so small. Once we fought about, I couldn't find my toothbrush that I left over his house. And I asked him where it was. And he said he threw it away. And I'm like, well, why would you throw my toothbrush away? Next thing you know, we're like cursing. We're not cursing. He's cursing at me. And like blown up to where I don't know what's about to happen. I don't know if he's going to hit me. I don't know what is going on. And I try to leave and he's pushing me. And that was the thing. That's how it started to get physical. And it was confusing because I wasn't getting kicked or punched or slapped. But I could never just leave the house. He grabbed me. He knocked things out of my hands. Because I'm the type, if we're getting into an argument, I'm packing up everything. Because I don't know if this is the last time I'm coming over here. I don't want to have to call you up for none of my stuff. So as I'm packing all of the things that I have at his house, he's like knocking things out of my hand. And it's just like, do I need this stuff? Can I just leave? He once held my purse off of his balcony, which was like 32 stories up, with my cell phone and everything in it. And it's just like, what is life? What is happening? And trying to retrace the steps, because what are the red flags? You want to recognize the red flags. And the red flags in him or in them tend to be that they are insecure. And at first, the insecurity may seem endearing, like, oh, they really like me. you know, he really cares. He's a little jealous. He's a little intimidated. And I just want to make him feel secure. But the thing is, when someone's insecure, that's not a hole you can fill. If I'm insecure, I have to fill that myself. And putting it on someone else to fix something that's wrong with me sets them at a disadvantage for themselves, because they can't fix that in me. And I can't fix that in him. So I know now, if I recognize any insecurities in a man, I get away. Give me an arrogant man any day. Give me a man that thinks he is the best thing since sliced bread. Cocky. I want that. I want a man that thinks he is everything and knows he can get another woman like that. And he wants me just because he wants me, not because I need to fill something in him. Also, anger. This guy and another guy. We used to, like, the arguments would go off really quickly. And just like, there was one guy I dated that I think I mentioned in another video, that we get into an argument, not even an argument, we get into a disagreement. I'd be like, hey, what's going on? You're supposed to be here. He's like, you know, he's running late. And instead of just going, oh, I'm sorry, or I'm working late, I can't do this. And it's just like, whoa. I'm not even angry. I'm just wondering where you are. Why are you yelling at me? And I once had a boyfriend, well, the really crazy one did this too. But now I'm triggered by the word shut up. And I once had a boyfriend only do that to me. Like, we got into a disagreement. We're going back and forth. And he told me to shut up. And he almost got dumped. And that was the only thing he had done. But it was because I know shut up leads to something else. Shut up is this kind of command that it's like, you tell me to shut up because you don't want to hear what I have to say. You can walk away. But to tell me to shut up is tell me that I need to stop talking. And if I don't, are you going to make me? Because I'm guessing that's the next step. Because if you give me a command and I don't do it, because if we're disagreeing, we're arguing, I'm not just going to shut up. That's not, what does that do? You know, how does that end the conversation? Where you said something and then I say nothing, and then what we agree, you know, and then I feel like shut up turns into shut up, bitch, or shut the fuck up. And then it's a hit, because at some point you got to make me shut up if that's what you really want to do. So immediately, if someone tells me to shut up, I don't do it. And actually, I established in my marriage from the beginning, we don't yell at each other. We don't curse. And I did that actually after the abusive relationship. Every relationship I had after that, I established that in the beginning of, like, we can disagree all day. I can be pretty disagreeable. I don't just agree to anything. If I have it in my mind, we can discuss it. I'm open to evolving my opinion and my knowledge on something, but I'm not just going to do what you say and just take your word if it doesn't sound right to me. So we can disagree, but let's not yell at each other. Let's not curse at each other. And I love to curse for fun, like when I'm just adding spice to my language. But when we're angry, let's not escalate it by using defensive or offensive language that makes you defensive. So recognizing red flags in them, you know, their use of aggressive language, their insecurities, their need to control you in a sense that makes that to create soothing in themselves. Also, recognize red flags in you. You want to recognize if you find comfort in familiar toxicity. You know, you may have grown up in a home with abuse, and some of those things may seem familiar to you, so it almost feels like you know this person. But you don't know this person. You just know the abuse. And, you know, it may also make you feel like, you know, when my mom stuck around or my grandma stuck around and my aunt stuck around, and this is something that can be worked through. It's not something that should be worked through. And if you grew up with abuse in your household, you shouldn't have. Like, let's not normalize these things. And if something in you, if you are the person that escalates disagreements, that takes it to the next level, that cannot control their emotions enough to at least, because I get really angry, but when I get really angry, I just shut up. I just shut up until I'm chill. I just get quiet and get in my head until I can figure out the next logical thing to do. You have to build your emotional intelligence past acting out in the moment. And know what things from your childhood contribute to who you are as an adult. Maybe because you grew up with abuse, you assume conversations are going in a direction where they're not necessarily going, and you're leading the charge. I know for a fact I don't lead the charge of aggressiveness because I just have never been an aggressive person. But at the same time, it hasn't stopped me from being in these fights and being in these arguments because I'm also not a super submissive woman. And while I might be very domesticated, submissive I am not. And I make no apologies for it. But I can say, taking positive things from my childhood, my father, who I love dearly and have a great relationship with, wasn't a great guy to a lot of the women he was with. And in particular, my mother, there was abuse. And my mom, when I was 9, she was pregnant. She had a couple of daughters and she was pregnant. And she left my dad. She left him. We went into a shelter. And we were homeless for like a year. But I can say that was the strongest thing I've ever witnessed her do. And it has given me strength. When I was in those bad relationships, I thought my mother left with small children and pregnant. I can go. I can leave. And that always gave me the strength to know that I don't need to take this. But again, it's not always easy. So how do you get out? If you are in an abusive relationship and you may be keeping it quiet, especially if, there's no physical signs. Maybe they're not hitting you, or they're not hitting you in places where people can see. I remember my ex, was threatening to hit me, and he, threw a phone book at me, and he was like, I'll punch you through that phone book. You won't even leave a bruise. It was like, who the fuck knows that? Who has that information in their head? I was like, oh my God, I'm really with a crazy person. I was really with a crazy person. I thought he was going to kill me when I finally broke off with him. I waited until he had moved out of state. And I said, let's take a break. And a break is the way that, it's like, let's break up, but I want to give you time to let it settle in your heart before we end things completely. And, he acted, even though he was in another state, he did a couple of really crazy things. He once started a fight with me when I was online to go to a club. And I'm like, we're not together anymore. It takes 2 people to make a relationship work, but only 1 person to break it off. And that's what I'm doing. So you need to just stop. Started filling up my phone with endless messages, filling up my voicemail. There was just no space. Calling blocked. I wasn't picking up the phone. And I usually pick up the phone no matter what the number is, because I assume if I gave you my number, I want you to have it. And then in the middle of the night, I hung up on the phone when I was online at the club, partied all night, came home, sun was coming up. I'm going up into my apartment and he's there. And when I hung up on him, he was in another state. He drove for hours in the middle of the night. I thought he was going to kill me. He did not, clearly, but another uncomfortable conversation where I just had to make it clear that we are not together and try to do so in a very calm way. But how do you get out? First step is try not to get into it in the first place. You want to try to, if you recognize these things early, Don't ignore that feeling that this isn't right. Don't ignore, like, why are you this angry? You know what I mean? One of the most important things in a relationship is how you argue, how you disagree. Because things are great when we're just having fun and eating new foods and seeing new things and doing, like, fine. But what happens when, you know, I think you're cheating on me and I'm saying stuff that you don't want to hear? Or, you know, you think I was flirtatious or anything. What happens when, you know, maybe one of my friends or family members said something disrespectful about him or the relationship? What happens if we disagree on future plans? Yeah, Cannon, that's right. Leave him. No. But if you can't disagree in a sane, healthy way, get out quickly. If he starts trying to make you not be friends with your friends, get out quickly. I don't care if all your friends are straight, ridiculous, promiscuous women or men who just wild all the time. You are who you are, regardless of them. And if this person can't trust you and build with you because they're your friends add some insecurity to their life, get out of it. Leave them alone. So I would say in getting out, fight for your freedom and your sense of self. Start with that. While in the relationship, if you recognize these signs, start asserting yourself. And it doesn't mean yelling or screaming, because again, I'm not an aggressive person in a relationship when it comes to disagreements. Not anger-wise. But again, just be clear that no, I don't want to do this. Yes, I'm doing this. It's my friend's birthday. I'm going out. Trust me. You know, don't call me a bunch of times. Don't start a fight with me before I go, so you'll ruin my night. I mean, you don't really want your girl sad in the club because some guy's going to come over and say, why you look so sad? Let me fix it. You know, rather her be happy and come home happy anyway. And also understand you are not responsible for anyone else's feelings. Whether they're feelings of jealousy, of rage, none of their feelings. You're not responsible for any of that other person's emotions. So it's important that you don't take that on. Let the person that I'm with can please express all of your feelings to me, but don't attribute them to me. If you feel jealous, let's talk about that. I want to know that there are feelings of insecurities, feelings of jealousy. But if you put them on me, then we can't talk. Because now I'm dodging your emotions. I don't want to have to dodge your emotions. If you throw them at me, that's what's going to happen. So tell your friends. Don't be ashamed and don't be silent. It's kind of like being sexually abused or raped and you feel so ashamed that this has happened to you that you don't want to talk about it. But it just allows that person to continue to abuse you or others. And you have not done anything wrong. So don't be ashamed that you're in this situation. You know, talk to your friends and family, anybody close. Talk to them, maybe his family. Talk to somebody. Let them know the situation you're in. And know that domestic violence shelters and programs are a good thing. And they're there. Go online. Look it up in your state. Call the cops. The cops will come and get you and take you to one. If anybody hits you, you have to get out. I don't care if they're angry and they're emotional. You know, I'm married. And I said for better or for worse. Worse does not include abuse. Any abuse. Not emotional, physical, financial, psychological. No abuse. I'm not here for any of it. If you start making me not happy with who I am because you're not happy with who you are, we need to not do this. But again, we are here for you. If you need to tell somebody and there's nobody around, email me at thenappyfrappe@gmail.com. I am here. I will do my best to help you. You are not alone. I have been through it. I have grown up with way worse abuse than some of the stories I've told you. I just want to give a few examples, but get out. And if you're young, you have your whole life ahead of you. If you're old, you have your whole life ahead of you. So I want to say from the Nappy Frappe, we are here for you. Okay? Don't ever, ever tolerate a relationship that does not make you feel good about love. All right. So thank you with that again. If you like this video, subscribe so you can be with me every week. Follow me on social media. I need a bunch of followers, y'all. Tell everybody. But subscribe. Follow me on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, at the Nappy Frappe. All right. Thank you so much from me and Cannon, who is just loud in the background. But thank you. You are beautiful. You deserve love. Bye.